Like Jamie said, my name's Alisa Gravitz. I'm with Green America, and our organization is all about economic power. How do you use the power, how do you vote with your dollars every day to take money away from the economy that degrades, like John was saying, and into the economy that regenerates? That all of our wonderful speakers, Rebecca and Chris, have been talking about. So you have a lot of power. If you have the great good fortune to get a job where you're making $20,000 or more, you will spend $1 million in your lifetime. Think about that, $1 million in your lifetime. So think about spending like a millionaire and making sure that what you do with your money directs towards the regenerative. We can literally, as so many people have spoken to, we can literally start the revolution with our fork. What we choose to eat, what we choose to wear, like Rebecca was saying. All of that, food, fiber, feed, because the vast majority of our economy, our agriculture economy goes to feeding animals. What percent do you think, if we got 100% right, with all the local fruits and vegetables, all organic, what percent of the agriculture land do you think that is in the US? 4%. So the rest of it goes to feed, fuel, and fiber. So we have to think about how do we get it all right. So I loved what Rebecca was saying. I loved what Chris was saying about what happens with that. We can do this. I also want to tell you it is working. This wonderful group of people here, this generation, is sending messages loud and clear to big food. General Mills, Kellogg's, Campbell's, Pepsi, all those companies are losing market share and losing customers because more and more people have the news that our food is not healthy and they're trying to figure out how to buy local, organic, and regenerative. And it's really cool. There's big system changes. It's not only impacting on these companies, but it's also impacting big food and big agriculture. And a lot of the food companies are saying, we have to listen to our customers. We have to provide more organic food. We have to provide non-GMO. This new thing about regenerative and soil health, we better get clued into that because they're getting the message from their customers that the customers want it. And they're understanding that if they want to have a future supply chain, they have got to get to move more to the regenerative side. So if you ever wonder, do your everyday choices matter? Does it matter if you sign those petitions and say, Campbell's clean up your act, Pepsi clean up your act? The answer is yes. Because first of all, they very carefully pay close attention to their sales and market results. And as every day when you vote with your dollars, they're noticing. If you not only use your economic choices, but add your voice and put on social media, write them a letter, email them, one of the big secrets is call their 800 numbers. It costs them at least $15 per call if you call. So if you get a lot of people to call the 800 numbers and say, I want this instead of that, they pay a lot of attention. Of course, always be polite because the people on the phone aren't the ones making the policy, but say, I want you to tell your management that I'm not going to be your customer anymore because I will be your customer again if you do this. So tell them, so very big, it registers very big. And organizations like us who run campaigns to push companies to stop their wrongdoing, when you sign those petitions, boy, then all together, we have a lot of power. We literally go into the companies sometimes, having printed out all the people who signed the petition on a big roll of recycled paper. And if we're meeting in a boardroom, have you ever seen those long boardroom tables? We'll make sure that we're at the head of the table and we unroll with everybody's names and where they came from, and to say, you give us standing to have that kind of impact on the companies. And the companies are changing. If you look at all of the top food companies, they're all introducing non-GMO, they're all introducing organic. They are all wondering what on earth are they going to do about the soil. These are active conversations, and that's thanks to what you do with your fork and your dollars. So I just want to thank you for all of that you do, and do more of it, because we are individually and collectively making a huge difference. It's true on the energy side, for example, also. Just to give you an example, one of our big campaigns on the energy side was against Amazon because they do all that cloud computing. The cloud is not white, fluffy clouds, right? It's dirty server farms that use up a lot of energy. And Amazon did, 4 years ago, they didn't even have a sustainability director, let alone a commitment on energy. So we went in there and we said, hey, you must, number one, get a sustainability director so we have somebody to negotiate with. And they did that. They did, and they actually hired some great people that we had actually worked with before. And number two, you must have every other major technology company, Google, Apple, eBay, they all have 100% renewable energy goals, which almost all of them have achieved, by the way. So you must have Amazon. So in 4 years, we've gotten them up to 50%, and they will be 100% renewable energy in the next 2. So again, that was the power of people standing behind us to say, look, these are all Amazon customers, you better do something about it. So what I'm saying is that your customer voice is huge. And so use it loud and clear. Support these amazing companies like Dr. Bronner's and Nutiva, and also tell the other ones about how they have to clean up their act. So I want to conclude with 3 really important things. One message of hope and an organizing principle. So my first message of hope is that we can do this. When it comes to climate, where everything is linked, I've had a great opportunity to talk with most of you over the last day, and you know the core of what you all are standing for just moves my heart. And you know, I've heard biodiversity, I've heard social justice, I've heard water, I've heard climate, I've heard soil. It's just so inspiring. They're all, of course, linked into climate, right? We will have no justice, and we will have no planet for human civilization if we don't deal with this climate. But I will tell you, I firmly believe, and so what Anna and so many people said about the importance of hope, it's not just a pie in the sky thing. We will have a fossil-free energy system between 2040 and 50, as long as we all keep doing our thing. We are on the path, and it's not just activists like me who say it. The elite forecasting team at Google says by 2025, half of our electricity will come from solar. MIT is a little more conservative. They say by 2030. But that means very soon, as long as we all keep up at it. Lauren was saying how she was going to, her takeaways from this program is she's going to talk with her college about getting solar in the college. That's the way we can make sure it's on path. Last year, of all the new energy in the world, 67% was renewable. We are on the path, and we will get there. Number 2, when it comes to the climate, it's really a very simple thing. We got to stop putting fossil fuels into the air, and we got to take the ones that are out back into the ground. And like so many people said, Chris, Rebecca, the solution, John, the solution is under our feet. Through photosynthesis and healthy soils, we can sequester that carbon back in the ground. We have a group that's working on that, and they want to take the 400 parts per million plus that we have in the atmosphere right now. They're working on a plan to get it down to 280. And it's all through healthy soil, carbon sequestration. This can be done. So if we go on the 2 tracks, making sure that no more carbon is going into the air, which we are on that path, get everybody to do renewables and energy efficiency, and through our food, fuel, fiber, that we get the carbon back into the ground. We can do this. This is not pie in the sky. This is not just hoping and praying. That you need hoping and praying too. That's good for you. But there's actual strategic ways we can do this. So bring that back to everybody who's depressed. Say, yes, we can do it. We all have to do it. You know, many hands make light lifting, right? It'll be a lot easier if we get a lot of people involved than if there's just a few of us, but we can do it. So I want to leave you with that. The second thing I want to leave you with is the organizing principles. We all know from ecosystem sciences, we all know from working on social justice, that diverse systems are the ones that are healthiest and survive the best. And so that's true when we do strategies as well. When we do organizing strategies, when we do action strategies, there's enough opposition out there, everything from apathy to people who are working actively against us. And by the way, people who work actively against us, that's good news. It means we're winning, so we just have to work harder. So what we can't afford is arguing amongst ourselves about which strategy is better. In the 1990s, there were a lot of people who would say, oh, we got to do it with solar. No, we got to do it with wind. No, we got to do it with energy efficiency. And they were fighting each other. Finally, when everybody got organized to say, oh, well, we just have to go as fast as we can with each one of these things, that's the way we're going to win. We need to have a biodiversity of strategies. That is always true. So if you're ever in an organizing meeting and you hear people arguing about strategies, figure out how the strategies work together, not how they're going to dominate. And like Judy said last night, partnerships are so important. And that's what's so cool about how this project works, because they partner with so many people. Very cool. The last thing I want to leave with you is, if you need more examples of hope, is that human bodies and Mother Nature are really, really resilient. I know that I've dealt with major autoimmune issues by having a really good, clean diet and taking on really good mind-body practices. So I've experienced it personally in my own body. But I want to tell you a story about Mother Nature. Back a couple of decades, I don't know, did anyone ever remember they declared Lake Erie dead? I don't know if anyone heard that, but a major big lake in the world, they declared it dead, and it wasn't exaggeration. By all means necessary, that you measure whether or not an ecosystem is healthy, there were no fish left, there were no algae left in the, there was no oxygen, they measured the oxygen in the water, that's why there were no living animals in it. And one by one, the scientists packed up and they left, and they said, this is a dead body of water. Boy, it was really a sad day. Then about 10 years, well then what happened was that, Churchill said Americans will always do the right thing as the last resort. So they then finally, the communities all around Lake Erie started to pass legislation to take the chemicals out of the water that were chewing up the oxygen, all the phosphoruses and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, long story short, one by one all the communities passed these ordinances. Even though the lake was dead, they still did it anyway, which was kind of interesting at every level, but they did it anyway. And 10 years later, people started reporting that there were fish jumping out of the water. And people went, well, but that's impossible. The lake is dead. How could there be fish jumping out of the water? So the scientists came back and they started doing the measurements. And yes, indeed, there was oxygen back in the water. There were fish back swimming in the water. There was plants growing. And this is just an amazing story to say. If we just give our systems, whether it's your own personal health system or the ecosystems, if we just back off a little bit and let them do what they're really good at, which is the resiliency and the self-healing, we can co-create, we can partner with Mother Nature. So I believe on the climate, if we just back off a little bit, if we do the right thing, if we stop putting the carbon into the air, if we start taking it out, Mother Nature's resiliency will cooperate with us, and we will turn this thing around. So I hope you can use some of these stories. I hope you can use some of this in your own organizing work, get people into their bodies, get people working together, honor the biodiversity of strategies, and remember Lake Erie. We co-create with Mother Nature. We can do this. We can create a thriving world for all of the future generations to come. Thank you. Thanks for all the work you do.